Welcome to the Trenton Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated and the Delta Upsilon Chapter of Omega Psi Phi's fifth and final session of our Get Your House in Order speaker series. My name is Nicole Carmichael, and I am the chairperson of our Economic Development Committee. Tonight, we are collaborating with the Delta Upsilon Chapter of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated to bring you this valuable and pertinent information. In order to build a home, the foundation must be laid, and the bricks are usually used in the initial stages. Tonight's brick focuses on the process of going from being a renter to a homeowner. We hope that you leave tonight's forum with valuable information about home buying. All of us are in a house in progress. During this year's speaker series, we have presented Building Generational Wealth, Taxes 2022 and You, Estate Planning, and Funeral Planning and Life Insurance. Through this series, our facilitators laid the foundation, built the brick and mortar, supplied the designs. Now, it is time for us to search for that mortgage and get that financing. If you missed our previous sessions, you may view these on our Facebook page or our YouTube channel, Trenton Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Soror Janelle Hazel is the committee's co-chair and will introduce tonight's facilitators. Thank you.
Thank you, Soror. I'm so pleased to present tonight's facilitators. Marva Morris is a real estate agent with over 9 years of experience in Central New Jersey, and she's had the pleasure of helping more than 250 families buy and sell their homes. She is not your average real estate agent. She's a target marketing specialist and a negotiation expert. She goes above and beyond to ensure your satisfaction. You are her number one priority, and she always treats her clients like family. One of the things that makes her stand out is her deep knowledge of the local area. She's been living in Mercer County for over 25 years and has been involved in organizations like the Granville Academy of New Jersey, the New Jersey Orators, and the Girl Scouts. She loves getting to know the people and the communities she serves and is always eager to lend a helping hand. Whether it's volunteering with kids through our sorority, Delta Sigma Theta, and at her church, or exploring local shops and cafes. Before becoming a real estate agent, she managed customer service centers along with project managers at Verizon, making her an expert when it comes to fiduciary responsibilities and legal compliance in every real estate transaction. You can trust her to make sure every detail is taken care of so you can focus on what's important, finding your dream home. Scott Rice is a realtor associate with Hartz Realty and Associates. He is a graduate of Thomas Edison State University with a Bachelor of Arts degree in liberal studies and a concentration in applied science and technology. Scott enjoys working with sellers and first-time home buyers. Scott also enjoys working with investors as he has been investing in real estate himself for over 30 years. Scott volunteers on a number of organizations in the city of Trenton. He serves as a commissioner for the Trenton Parking Authority, treasurer of the Omega Delta Upsilon Foundation, and is a proud member of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. Please join us in welcoming both of our presenters this evening.
Hello, and thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. So what we wanted to do, I am Marva, and I am a realtor with Weichert Realtors. And what we wanted to do is start you off today with a simple poll. We just want to kind of see where everybody is and make sure that we're touching on things of interest to you and helping you answer questions that you may have regarding the purchase process. So if you want to go ahead and launch that poll for us. You can just answer to the best of your ability.
And also there are 6 questions, so you may have to scroll. There's a gray bar on the right side of your screen of the poll screen, and you can just move that down to see the 6 questions.
It looks like everybody might have answered the questions. Give me a second. I just want to capture the answers here. Just wanted everybody to see kind of what the results were, and then we'll get to talking about them. You want to scroll down and take a look at them? Okay. Can we stop sharing the poll? Okay, I can still see the poll. So does everybody, did the poll go away for everyone else? It popped, it was on my screen. Not on your screen anymore. Okay, fine. All right. So thank you all for joining us tonight. So one of the first things that we wanted to talk about is whether this is a buyer's market or a seller's market. You hear that a lot, and what tends to happen is, no one really understands what those terms mean. So what we wanted to do is just kind of identify that for you this evening. So when you're talking about a buyer's market, it's basically if houses are on the market and they take over 90 days to close, so that's about 3 months or more, then it's a buyer's market because there's lots of inventory and buyers get to kind of choose and be selective in what they want. And then we also, as buyers, you get to make demands too on things that you want from the homeowner. Now, a seller's market is actually when their inventory is less than 90 days. So homes are being sold in 60 days, 70 days, they get on the market and within 2 to 3 months, they're already under contract and sold. So right now we are definitely in a seller's market. And just so you know, right here in our area, in most of Mercer County, we are seeing homes that are going on the market within 10 days maximum. So it's definitely a seller's market right now, which means sellers don't have to do a lot of things that they may normally do. So we'll talk about a little more of that as we get more into our presentation, but just wanted you to know that right now we are definitely in a seller's market. So Scott, what are you going to share with us tonight?
Good evening. Again, my name is Scott Rice, and I'm a realtor associate with Hawks Realty. I'm going to talk about some of the most important aspects of buying a home. I have three here, but they're a little bit more than just what you see here. So when you're considering the financial aspects of buying a home, the first thing you're thinking about is how much is this home going to cost, and what about the mortgage? But there's a lot more involved here. There's taxes. If you're a renter, you never paid taxes before. Some of you may have your utilities included in your rent. Now you have to pay rent. There's Trenton Waterworks. If you're in the Trenton area and most other areas, you have to pay for water and sewer. There's a fee for that, usually quarterly. What about your car payments? Did you buy a car recently? Are you about to buy a car? What about credit cards? What about your cell phone, internet? You have to factor all these financial things in, because it seems easy just to get that mortgage. But if you don't think about those other aspects that's going to come along with it, because they might not have been included in your rent, they were included in your rent prior, you may come into a little bit of a shock to find out that you are now responsible for all those aspects. The house is yours. What about cutting the grass, maintenance? Those things are all on you now once you become a homeowner. But that's one of the responsibilities of being a homeowner. Location is one of the easier ones that people think about. But again, it could be a little bit more than just saying, I want to live here or there. What about your job? How far is it from where you work? Maybe there's a better deal further south in South Trenton or South Jersey or further away. What about your family now? Your family and friends, you may want to see them on a regular basis, but you may not now because you're moved away, and that house for that location was a great price, but now I don't have that relationship with my family as much as I did before. So you think about that. What about grocery stores, shopping? Is there close proximity to those items? Can I walk to a store, or do I have to drive everywhere I want to go? So you see the price of the home, it may be enticing, but you have to think about these other aspects as well. One other thing you might not even think about, what about medical services? Are there hospitals nearby? Suppose there's an emergency. Will I get the services I need quickly? Some areas don't have a good hospital system going on. Some may have one that's several miles out of town. So how do I get there? How responsible are the ambulance services in the area? So a lot of the things that you think about when you talk about location that are involved. That's just a few, but there are also others as well. One of the last things I would say is, what about selecting the right realtor? We're all knowledgeable. We're all professional realtors. We're all here to serve you. We all take our fiduciary duties very responsibly. But maybe you just don't have that certain personality that person that doesn't have for you. Maybe they just don't work well with you. That's okay. There's plenty of realtors out here for you to select from, but you want them to be responsive to your needs. You want them to be there for you in a way that, that satisfies what your particular aspects are. If you're a go-getter, say if you want to go out there and see houses on a weekly basis, a daily basis, you may have to find a realtor that's more full-time versus part-time. But again, there are many out there, and we're all professionals, and they're all willing to and able to help you. But you have to select the realtor that you think works best for you. And it should also be knowledgeable with the area where you want to go. Maybe some are more familiar with North Jersey than Central Jersey or South Jersey. So you might want to pick a realtor who has that kind of a background so that they can help you achieve that goal that you're looking for. So I'll toss it back to you, Marva.
Got it. Thank you, Scott. So what I want to talk about right now is the importance of your credit score. Now, we've all heard a lot about credit scores. Some of us, depending on your age range, you use your credit score for so many things. When it comes to buying a home, a lot of people, you want to work on getting your credit score better. But what we want to just let you know right now is, what does that look like when you're looking at buying a home? So you can actually buy a home with a credit score as low as 580. There are not a whole lot of opportunities for you, but there are a few. So 580 is one of the lower credit scores that you can use to purchase a home. And then, as your credit score grows, obviously, sometimes your interest rates are going to get a little better. And you also have, you can have less money that you have to put down, and all of those things that may matter to you. So that is one thing that definitely you want to think about when you're looking at, purchasing a home in credit score. So usually anything over 700, and you're going to get better interest rates. So another thing that we wanted to talk about with the importance of your credit score. So we have here what is considered a good credit score. I want to touch on that a little bit. So a lot of people over 700 is considered a good credit score. But I'm going to tell you now, the average credit score is between the 580 and 700, which is why, that's why the credit scores are allowed to go that low, because if they kept it at 700, pretty much there wouldn't be too many people that would be able to purchase a home. And that's because the credit companies look at various things when they do the credit score. So mortgage companies have to take that into account. If you have a student loan, your debt ratio might be a little higher until you pay that off. So nobody's gonna, some of us, we have, high loans. You don't want to wait until your loan is totally paid off after 25 years before you buy a home. By then you've had your kids, sent them off to college, and you might be paying even more college tuition. So you want to make sure that you're kind of looking, they look at those types of things. So a good credit score for the credit union, like for the credit companies, is anything over 700. So if you ever looked at Credit Karma, and sometimes they'll say, you have a 650 in there, say it's, it's okay, it's moderate, but it's actually good and you can purchase a home. So just know that. One of the things that they're looking at when you go to purchase a home, they're always looking at length of credit is something that helps grow your credit score, or it might keep it lower. So you might have everything great because you're just starting out, but because you don't have a long length of credit, that is going to also affect your credit score. Then you're going to have credit cards, and credit cards actually in your payments account for like 30% of your credit score. So you want to make sure that you really stay on top of those. Your utilization, they use that, that's about 30%, but a lot of what you do in your balances, that makes up a little more. So what's going to happen is, so what I always recommend to folks is that if you have cards that, so I'm going to do something really easy, say $1,000. So if you have a card that has a $1,000 limit, you want to make sure that you're never going over 500. And that really, if you listen to credit experts, they're going to tell you $300 because they like you to be at 30%. But if you're at 50%, that still gives you in a good range. But that's just something to think about. So if all of your credit cards total, say, $3,000, then you want to make sure that all of your balances are less than $1,000 because they look at everything overall. So just want to kind of mention that too. So one of the things that you can do to increase your score, obviously you pay down your credit cards. You never want to close any of them because that hurts your credit score. Also, one of the things that I wanted to share that's really important about credit score, it's not only about buying a home, it's also about the rest of your life. So, think about it. You and I go out, we're looking at the same car, same exact car. And because I have a 750 credit score, I'm paying $300 for that car. And because your credit score is 650, you're paying $350 for the car. So you can see how credit scores really are something that is important. So if we get nothing else, out today, I would say, just remember, it's not only important in the home buying process, but it's important pretty much in everything else we do when we're going to buy something and we're not going to pay for it with cash. So that's just something that you want to make sure of. And although banks look at credit scores, they're going to be looking at a couple of other things in order to decide whether you're going to get a mortgage or not. So just want to make sure, but credit score is one of the more important things that they look at. That's basically, that gets you in the door. And once you're in the door, then they're looking at some other things that determine if they're going to give you a mortgage or not. So I'm going to turn it back over to Scott. Here you go, Scott.
Thank you, Marva. So now you talked about credit score. You have a decent credit score, so you're fine there in that aspect. But one of the other obstacles you always have is how do I put that down payment down? Most mortgages are going to require you to put down something, 3%, 3.5%, maybe even 5%. There are opportunities where you can put down 0%, but let's talk about the ones that are around 3%. So 3% of a $300,000 home is $9,000. That's just the down payment. So you'll need an additional 3 to 5% for closing costs. So what do? So my credit's good. I've been paying rent of $2,000 a month, so I'm good there. I'm steady, but I just don't have the money to put down. Well, the good thing is there's a first-time home buyers programs around that will help you with that money. So let me just go over a few of them for you. The MFA offers you $10,000. That's from the New Jersey Housing and Mortgage Finance Administration. That's $10,000 that you can use. Now, if you save $300,000 house, 3%, that's $9,000. So you're pretty much covered right there on this one. As well, Mercer County has $10,000 they'll offer you for a first-time home buyer program. And again, I want to mention some of these do have qualifications in terms of income. So they may have a qualification if it's one person house versus 2 or 3 or 4. So you have to look into these programs, see which one works best for you. But there are opportunities out there for everyone, for the most part, as long as you take advantage of it. There's also the City of Trenton. They have a first-time home buyer program. City of Trenton is offering $15,000. Again, there are some guidelines here for income, but if you're looking to live in Trenton, the City of Trenton, they can give you up to $15,000 to help out. Now, again, I'm talking $9,000 for down payment on $300,000 home, and I'm giving you $15,000, so do the math. You do have some additional funds over there to help with the additional closing costs. So $15,000 goes a long way. Now, none of this means that you don't have to save up your own money. You do need to be saving money. You do need money aside and invest and put some skin in the game for your own investment. However, we know sometimes it's difficult, especially with the market and the recession and everything else going on now. It may be difficult for you to have money set aside when you're just trying to get the major essentials out of the way. So these programs are there for you just to take advantage of them. There's also the Trenton Neighborhood Initiative. This one is giving $20,000, up to $20,000 to assist a first-time home buyer. Again, there are some income guidelines for these that you have to abide by, but there's money out there available for you if you do qualify for them. So when you think about this, you need to put some money aside yourself. There's never going to be a time where you don't have to pay anything at all, but you do need to invest in yourself. This is an investment for your future. So we need you to be thinking and be mindful of that. Maybe you need to cut some bills here or there. Maybe you don't need to go do X, Y, and Z or party or buy that. Maybe you don't need to buy that car right now. This home will appreciate value versus a car will depreciate over time. So it's worth the time and effort to put aside that money, maybe save up for a year or two or even more just to get that money together. And these programs here will help and assist you in getting that first time home. Back to you, Marva, for pricing and location.
Thank you. But I want to throw something in there regarding some of these programs. They are for first-time home buyers. And another thing is you have to live in the home. So they're not for investors. So even if you're a first-time home buyer and you decide you want to invest, you don't want to live in it, you're going to keep living wherever you're living in rent, then these programs you wouldn't qualify for. Some of them you may, if you buy a multifamily, you may be able to still get that help because you'll be living in one of the units. But just want to reiterate that it is for people that are going to live in the home, and they have minimums as far as timeframes when you have to actually stay in the home before you can sell it without penalty. But any questions on that, definitely reach out to Scott and myself, and we will answer that for you. So I do have a question in the chat, and I think I want to answer it because it's talking about the seller's market. So the question is, it has been a seller's market for almost a year now. Any changes that will become a buyer's market soon? And unfortunately, no. The signs right now are showing that it is going to be a seller's market for probably until at least the end of the year. But that's not a bad thing for you. What's going to happen is the inventory is a little lower, but we've seen a lot more houses coming on the market. So right now, instead of having 10 offers on a property, you might have 2. So it's getting better for buyers because you're not competing with 15 people, which can be really hard, especially if you haven't saved up like $50,000. So you don't want to use every last bit of your savings to get in a house. But for right now, it is still a seller's market, and all of the research says that it is going to continue to be a seller's market until the end of this year. And trust me, as realtors, we feel bad when we're working with buyers and we're going out and we're getting no after no after no. So we don't like delivering that news to you either. And you ask anyone that's in the real estate business, all of us, and we don't like this market either. It's different than what we're used to. We're used to buyers markets, but not like this. So, we're used to sellers markets. We've had that before. We've had buyers markets, but we've never ever in the history of real estate had a seller's market like this. So unfortunately, I have to be the bearer of that bad news, but it is going to get better. And, just kind of if you're looking for a home, you'll see later on in our presentation why that is still a very good thing for you. So we're talking about pricing versus location. So I saw a lot of you when we asked you what you thought the price range would be for Central New Jersey. And a lot of you hit it really, hit it pretty good on head. So one of the things that we want to talk about is when it comes to location, really a lot of what we look at is it's up to the individual. So you have to figure out what's important to me, right? Do you need to be close to public transportation? Do you want rural versus urban versus suburb? What do you like? Do you like having a lot of people around you? So you want to be kind of in an urban area where there's a lot happening, a lot of activities, a lot of cultural things going on. So we want you to think about those things also. And then also you might want to think about how close is it to a mall? How close is it to shopping? Can you walk to a supermarket, or do you have to get in your car to go everywhere? Because there are some towns where, literally the closest grocery store is like 2 to 3 miles away. And although it might not be bad when you're going there and you walk to get there, but coming back, no one wants to carry a lot of bags or whatever. So I know now we have a lot of different things where they deliver now. So a lot of people might not be doing that, but these are just things that you want to think about. I know when I first moved to the area, because I was from North Jersey, so I made sure that I was like no more than 7 or 8 minutes from the turnpike, because I know how my family is. I don't know about yours, coming down here from North Jersey, it's like they're going to Chicago, so far away. So I wanted to make sure that once they got here, it was really easy for them to find my house. So those are things that you want to think about when you're thinking location. And with regards to pricing, I have some examples here. I don't know, are those coming up next, Scott, or is that later on? Yeah, so I want to show you something now. So this is just showing you, now all of the homes that you're going to see are 3-bedroom homes, and they have at least 2 bathrooms. And just going to show you the difference in price. And the square footage is between 1,600 and 1,800 square feet. But I want to show you in different areas how you're going to pay a different price. So and then I'll, talk a little more about the importance of location. So this is a beautiful home, as you can see. And all of these homes on the inside, gorgeous, great updates, hardwood floors, all the things that you would want and would look for. So they pretty much are similar in those types of things. What's the next one that we have? So this is Trenton. This one is in Titusville, and notice same parameters, but it's $583,000. Next one. This is in Princeton, and this is actually a sale, because you really can't find too much in Princeton, but this is more towards like the outskirts. I think this one was maybe like in the West Windsor portion, but they still have a Princeton zip code. So as you can see here, that's $510,000. And this one is in Pennington, and same parameters, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, 1,600 to 1,800 square feet. You're looking at $500,000. And then this one is in Hamilton, and it is $485,000. This one is in Ewing, and it's $50,000, sorry, made that mistake. And then we have another one, which is in Hightstown, further over, closer to the turnpike, but further north. And that one is $370,000. So as you can, thank you. So as you can see, you have so by location, what we try to do is we want to know, if you want to live in, Princeton, you have to know kind of what, even though the location is important to you, because we have a lot of people that would say, well, I want to live in Hamilton, but I want to pay $150,000 for a home. And I can tell you, and I know Scott has the same thing going on. When someone brings me a house and says, I want to see this house because it's a great price. So it's say it's $80,000 and it's in Trenton. I already know it's going to need work because there's nothing really in Trenton that's under 100 that's in good shape. And a couple of years ago, that wasn't the case. You could buy something really nice that you could do minimal work to for like $60,000 and in Trenton. And we know that's not going to happen. If someone says to me, well, I want to live in Hamilton and I want to spend $125,000, we already know that's not going to happen. Unless you're prepared to do work, you're going to have to spend a little more. So as realtors, we like to kind of guide you to what your budget says you can do, and we'll find that for you in the area, but we'll let you know if you have $200,000 and you want to live in, Ewing, we'll let you know you can live in Ewing, but you probably will have to find something that may need some updates. Now, the house doesn't have to be in bad shape. What it could be is, someone's grandma lived there for 60 years, so she hasn't done one upgrade whatsoever, but everything else is working. The house is solid. All you have to do is put in the sweat equity and you will have a home and the good thing is that you're going to have a home that's worth a lot of money as soon as you purchase it, once you start doing the upgrades. So it doesn't mean that it's junk. It just means that it's going to need upgrades and you just have to be prepared for that. So also when we're taking you out and looking, that's something that you also want to share with your realtor. If you're okay with a little sweat equity, then we can help you find a home. If you want to find something that's move-in ready and you don't have to do anything, all the upgrades are there, then we're going to let you know that, there are going to be some things that you're going to need to do. But just wanted to kind of show you where pricing was versus location and how you can have the same exact parameters. And depending on the town, you are going to pay a little more money. So that's just the one thing that I want to show. So now I'm going to throw it back over to you, Scott.
Thank you. But let me add on to that. My first few properties I owned when I first got into real estate, I rented for 3 years and I couldn't take it anymore. I said, this is ridiculous. I don't want to rent. Well, I did something that a lot of other people didn't want to do. I did take those fixer-uppers. So my very first home was a 2-family. I only paid $35,000 for it, but I had to put in tons of sweat equity. And not just me, my wife was there. We were up 2 o'clock in the morning, painting, fixing floors. But in the end, it paid for itself. But you can't imagine the return you'll get by putting that sweat equity in versus giving someone else $10,000 to $15,000. I mean, you can get a house that needs to have one room painted, and that may cost you $500, and it's only $50 worth of paint. So, put the scrubs on, grab that paint, and get at it. So I've always advocated for people who want to do fixer uppers, but it's not for everyone. Not everyone wants to do that. Not everyone is into painting and fixing and putting up drywall. I happen to have been, so it worked out very well for me. So on that topic, talking about owning versus renting, again, I said I only rented for 3 years. I couldn't take it anymore, but I just thought it was a waste of money. So right now, what I want to do is I want to talk about the difference between owning and renting. And for this exercise, what we're going to do for illustration purposes is we're going to talk about a 3-bedroom home, 1-bath, townhome. Simple, straightforward home, nothing crazy, no huge yard, just a nice, decent place to live. Okay. Sorry. If you're renting, the rent would be about $2,200, we'll say, but you also have annual increases of 5%. We're talking about areas where they're not like Trenton. Trenton has rent control, and we have different amounts they can raise the rent every year. But let's talk about another area where the increases are generally around 5%. So $2,200 a month for that 3-bedroom, 1-bath townhome that you're renting. Same home, but this time you're going to purchase it. So the purchase price, let's say, is $258,000. Your mortgage will be $250,000. But let's say, hypothetically, 7%. So your principal and interest is $1,670 approximately a month. Let's say the taxes are about $5,000 a year. You also have property insurance, $900. The taxes can change over time, but in this instance, we're talking about a pretty stable area. And even if it does go up, they don't usually go up 20% like that or 50%. So it'd be roughly $5,000, maybe 1 year to be $5,100, but over 12 months, $100 really doesn't add up to much. So, but the payments there are roughly the same, $2,162, say the same $2,200 for the house. But let's take and compare the results of that. So in the first year, you're paying $26,400 to rent. If you owned it, you're paying roughly $26,000. So really that first year, you're about equal. You're not really spending any more than or less than renting versus owning. But now remember, year two, you got a 5% increase in your rent. So now you're paying $27,000, almost $28,000, when the owner of that property is only paying $25,000. That same $26,000. Same thing falls through for year three, $29,000. Year four, $30,000. Year five, $32,000 as a renter you're paying, when you still could have been paying roughly $26,000 if you own that property. So at the end of 5 years, you're thinking about moving on, right? I'm going to move to another place or whatever if you're a renter, or I want to sell my home. But at the end of 5 years, you spent $146,000 to the landlord. What do you get from that? Nothing. You get the right to leave. What about if you were owning? Well, you did spend $129,000, and when you look at that overall, you did save $16,000 by being a home owner. But if nothing you're not thinking about is you also paid off part of that principal. You paid off roughly $15,000 worth of principal. So your balance of your mortgage at that point is $235,000. Now, these payments are fixed and are amortized over a period of 30 years, but they pretty much stay stable. But when you talk about being a renter, you really didn't get anything. There's nothing for you to gain after renting for 5 years. Now, I'm not saying anything's wrong with renting. There's plenty of reasons why people want to rent versus own. But when you think about the financial sense it makes, if you're going to live in this house for 5 years, paying $146,000 and having nothing at the end of 5 years, versus having a home that you spent and saved maybe $16,000. And at that point, you can sell that home. Chances are it would accrue a little bit of value into it. 5 years is not a long period of time in terms of the prices of the home going up, but we don't know. It can go up. It depends on what the area you're living in. Some areas are more stable than others. Some are actually changing. But you can sell that home and make a little bit of a profit of it. Plus, you already saved money. Again, you saved $16,000 on that. So now at this point, you can go out there and sell that home. Maybe you sell it for $250,000, the same price you got. Maybe you get your money back. Maybe it's worth $300,000 now. Take that, and maybe you want to upsell and go up to a better home, maybe a 4-bedroom, 2-bath, maybe a better neighborhood, maybe a better location. Maybe you went down south, South Jersey, and it was so far from your family you want to move back up north. You can possibly do that now that you saved the money up in payments that you made every single month, as well as the accrued value that you have, the equity you have in your home now, that you can do that, sell it, and then move on. And also, after you build this equity up in the home, suppose there was some aspects of the home you did not like. Maybe it was a little bit more of a fixer-upper. Maybe you didn't have $20,000 to upgrade the kitchen. Now, maybe you built some equity in the home. You can get a home equity loan later on, and the home equity loan can be used to do some home improvement. Now you put that back into the home, buy a new kitchen. Maybe your value goes up significantly because of a new kitchen. Maybe it was dated when you bought it. So now you have a house that's maybe even worth even more. But again, versus a renter, you have absolutely nothing to show for it except that you gave the landlord $146,000. So it's very important to think about this. Again, there's nothing wrong with being a renter. A lot of people rent, and there's nothing wrong with it. But if you have the mindset to want to build equity, to build wealth, you may want to think about buying a home. And back to you, Margaret.
Let me piggyback on that a little bit. So the one thing is that earlier we were talking about some of the different series that happened before ours today. And this is all about building generational wealth. Because if you buy a house now for, like, let's just take Scott's example, right? He bought a house for $35,000. I don't even care where he bought the house right now. I know for a fact that it's worth at least $125,000. So just think about, what bank could you put your money in and get that kind of return, even in 10 years? What bank could you put $30,000 in, and in 10 years, you'll have $125,000? There's no bank that you can do that with. So owning a home does build generational wealth. So you want to make sure that so that's what we like to think of it in terms of. I have a client that was thinking that, they wanted to buy. And one of the things that they said though, oh, you know what, but I want to save some more money. So we were looking at rentals that were like $2,000. So I said, so let me make sure I understand this. And I'm saying this to you all because it's just something that when you see these numbers, it really hits home when you see how much you have actually paid in a year to someone else. I said to him, so you want to spend $24,000 to save how much? Saving an additional $5,000, right? Like at that point, if that's what you're doing, I'm going to tell you, you need to sit down with us and you need to sit down with a mortgage person because Scott, we showed you there are programs out there that would help you get that additional money that you might be trying to save. So right now may be a good time for you to actually just take that plunge because you need to start building your generational wealth now. And if you have everything else, credit score, everything else, but you're just waiting to save a couple $1,000 more, there's a program out there for you. So just, think about that. And, my thing is always just get out there and find out yay or nay. And then if you can't buy a house right now, worst case scenario is now and now you know what you have to do so you can buy a house in a year or two, right? So I figured no harm, no foul. Always, it's just good to know where you stand. Now we're going to talk about some of the do's and don'ts for buying a home. So I'm going to go through first, like things you want to do with the mortgage. So you definitely want to get pre-approved before you start looking for properties to buy. Because as you saw when I shared locations, there is nothing worse than looking at a $500,000 house and finding out that your budget is $350,000. Trust me, there are different finishes in those houses, square footage. The neighborhood, some neighborhoods may have, a little more land when you, when you increase your budget. So you want to make sure that you are getting pre-approved so you know exactly what your buying power is. You want to always do that. Don't apply for a mortgage if you have doubts about your ability to repay it. That kind of is what happened in like the 2008 range. People were getting those no document kind of loans. And what happened is, or those balloon loans where you get the loan for like 3 years. And then, if you couldn't refinance it, now you had to pay back like, $300,000. So if you have any doubts, if there's anything in your financial situation that might be a little shaky and you might not be able to repay it, it might be a stretch for you, don't apply for a mortgage. Just in that case, you want to wait, save up some more money, or maybe think about buying a multifamily, so a 2-family, so you can live in one unit and have someone else help you pay the mortgage. That's also a good option. Don't forget about any of the additional costs that may be required to have maintenance on the home. So the one thing, that a lot of people get scared with is when you own a home, if something goes wrong, you have to fix it. So one of the things that you can do is there are home warranties that you can get that will, cover some of the major things in the home. So that's something to think about, especially if you don't have a lot of money saved and you're not a Mr. or Mrs. Fix It, you're just, this is not your thing. So you might want to make sure that you have at least an additional 10% in place of whatever the price is of the home that you have for your emergency. So you want to make sure that you do that. Check all of the details, like, when your mortgage needs to be paid and all of that kind of thing. You want to also make sure that you have a good mortgage person. And, we have people that we work with, so we would, help you in that choice. And once again, you want to understand how much you can afford versus, what. So, and sometimes, sometimes I've seen people that will get an okay for, say, a $600,000 house. But you're looking at the payments, and some of us can say, you know what, you say I can afford a $600,000 house. However, I'll be comfortable with a $400,000 house because I still want to go on vacations. I still want to travel with my friends. There's things that I still want to do. So you want to take that into consideration too. You don't want to bend the truth. Don't say to them, you added money that you might work in overtime and those types of things, because when you submit your application, these are the things that they're going to be checking on. And I've seen people that qualify for a certain amount when the mortgage company starts pulling the real figures, not qualify for a house that they absolutely fell in love with, because they, the overtime that they put down on the application, they haven't been working that overtime for, a year or more. And that's what they usually look for. This stuff has to be something that they can track and see that it's something that you're going to get on a normal basis. So you want to give accurate information, because that is going to come back to bite you. And don't make big splurges, because that stuff does stay on your credit. Like, that stuff will pop up on your credit score, and it hurts your debt ratio. So what they look at is out of 100%, most mortgage companies and most loans are looking at your debt can't be more than 45% of your income. So everything that you owe money on can't be more than 50% of your income. So if you make $100,000 a year, everything that you own cannot, or you have that's in your credit pocket, can't be more than the 45,000. And what happens when you purchase a car is that actually raises up your debt ratio, because they look at it like this: when you first purchase a car, you don't own that car at all. Like, it's not an asset. They look at that, it's 100% debt. So they don't add that in with the rest of your number. That basically throws your whole credit off, because that's kind of counted separately. So it has a bigger hit than if you have a car that you've had for 3 or 4 years, it's almost paid off. That's now put inside of your, your normal credit score. So that's built in. The same thing is, don't go buying furniture before you buy your home. Once you close on your home, you can do all these things. You can buy your car, you can buy your furniture, or when you're buying furniture, don't buy it on credit. Don't even go, when you look, sometimes you know how they get all pressure filled, and they're like, let me run your credit and see if we can get you a deal. Don't have them do that if you know you're in the mortgage process. I have seen people get jammed up because there's something there, and now, or they bought furniture. Now you bought furniture and you jeopardize the home that you were going to put the furniture in. So you want to make sure that you're making sure that you don't do that. So, so those are just a few things that, you shouldn't do. And I'm trying to think if we had any others. I'm going to look here.
Marva,
Yes.
there is one question related to that in the chat. It states, I'm getting older and have 10 years before I may retire. Is it a smart idea to get a 30-year mortgage?
Okay. So I would say, and I'm sure, Scott's going to have something to add to this. I would say that it really depends on how much money you have saved. So if you're retiring in 10 years, a lot of what the mortgage company is going to price that as what you make now. What I would recommend that you do, this comes to being resilient and, diligent and knowing what you can afford. So if you know that your retirement, your payments of your pension and your 401k and any other monies that you're going to be getting are going to equal out to the same amount that you were getting from your job, then yes, buying a house now and getting a 30-year mortgage would be fine for you. Now, another thing that I would recommend that people can do is you don't have to get a shorter mortgage. You can pay your house off as quickly as you want to. So what you can do is you get a 30-year mortgage, and then what you can do is pay a little extra down, and you have to make sure that you say you're paying it on the principal, because the bank would want you to pay the interest because that's their money. You're paying a little extra on the principal, and you can actually pay that house off in 15 years by just adding a little extra every month. So even though you get the 30-year mortgage will just help you because you might have, less payments. So this way, if you have to make some cutbacks, it's right there already for the lesser payment. But if you know that you can double up on that payment, you can do that on your own. And it just allows you to, be able to do that. And another thing, there are insurance policies out there too. If you have kids or anything else that you're worried about, where you can actually get the mortgage covered so that if something happens to you, the mortgage would get paid off. and your kids get the full value, or your family or whomever you're leaving your property to would get the full value of the home. So I would say sit down with your financial advisor and kind of go through what the best scenario is for you.
Yeah, I'll add to that as well. 10 years is not small change. That's a significant amount of time. So if you purchase a house and you're at, say, 50 years old, and you want to retire at 60, that's still 10 years. 10 years, you're going to live somewhere. So you're still paying that landlord 10 years, and you have nothing to gain from it but a place to stay. After 10 years, again, you could sell your house at the same cost you bought it for, or you could leave it to your children. There's a lot you can do. That building that wealth is not just for 30 or 40 years. It could be for 10 years. It could be for 5 years. I don't think there's any bad time. It's, again, look at your financial picture, plan out your life, how you want to live and how do you want to do things. But you're gonna live someplace, and you're gonna pay somebody some amount of money for the next 10 years. So after the end of 10 years, do you want to have something you built off of it, or just walk away free? So it's the choice you make, but I see no reason why anyone would not want to buy a house even at 10 years. I wouldn't let that 10-year be prohibitive of me buying a home.
Right. Now, there's one more thing that I did not say about the don'ts when buying a home. Do not, any money that you have that's in your house under your mattress, you know how some of us, we don't trust banks, so you want to hide money. You cannot bring that to the closing. They are not going to count that as money that you have. Any money that you have that you've saved, you have to put it in a bank, because the bank does what we call, they vet it or source it. They want to make sure that it came from a legitimate income source. So even though you're saving the money, you're putting it in your safe at home, if you're thinking about buying a house in 6 months, put it in the bank now, because they're not going to go back 6 months to see that you made a large deposit, but they do go back 60 days. I had a client that took money out because they were going to rent. So they pulled out a large amount of money to rent. Then that fell through. So they put the money back in the bank. And the mortgage company would not accept that when they had to close. So we had to come up with another way to get them to close, which we did. But that's just to show you how strict they can be. This is your own money. And they said exactly what they did with the money, but the bank refused to accept it and wouldn't let them use that money out of their bank account to put in their down payment for the home. So you want to be very careful. And also, when you have family members that are loaning you money or giving you a gift, they're going to want to kind of vet where your family member got that money from. So you have to know this, because you're going to have to warn your family member. So if you know your mom or your grandmom is giving you like $10,000, the bank is going to want to see where that $10,000 came from. So, they might want to see their bank account for the past 30 days. And, some of us, some people are like, why do they need to do that? I'm giving you the money. Why do they need to do that? Why do they need to see that? So if there's a gift or some kind of source that a parent is going to give you, maybe you kind of can open up a joint account now and they put that money in there. And then this way, when you're ready for it, you can take it out to buy the home. Because I know as parents, sometimes we're looking like, I'm not giving my child $10,000. They may never get a house if I give it to them now. But if you do something with it where it's in both of your names, so when when they're ready, it's right there, it's vetted. So that's just something that you want to make sure that you are not doing. If you have any cash that you're going to utilize, you want to keep that in the bank. And then you can't have any large deposits that you can't say where they came from. So that's it for the no.
No, there is one more. Would it be better for those of us over 50 to buy a townhouse or condo rather than a traditional house?
That is an excellent question. So I'm going to say this because I'm in that age range, right? So there are so many right now in Mercer and Burlington County. There are so many over 55 communities. And let me tell you something. You can get something that's really nice, that's under $300,000, that has all first floor living, 1,700 square feet, up to like 3,000 square feet in an over 55 community So really, it's going to depend on, for that, I would say it would depend on your taste. Do you really want to be attached to other people? Are you okay with that? Is that something that you would like? Do you want to be someplace where you have amenities, where you have a pool, you have, someone that's cutting the grass outside for you? But the downside for that could also be that they're also telling you that you got what color, you have to paint your house, what you can have on your door outside of your condo or your townhouse, what color or kind of fence you can put in the backyard of your townhouse if you have a little bit of yard space. So if you're okay with, you get to a point sometimes where some of us, you don't want to do anything, right? You rather, that would be a great place for you to live. You want to be somewhere where someone takes care of everything on the outside and you're just responsible for the inside. But there's so many opportunities out there for anybody over 50 where you can still get a single family home in a community that will cut all the grass for you. So I think that really is going to be, I would say that would be more of a personal choice, like what do you like and what are you okay with? And then yes, that would work for you. Because believe me, there are some senior communities where I've shown some the houses are starting at 700,000. And this is an over 55 community. And they have in Cranberry, they're going to be building an over 55 community, and they're starting off at 700,000 because they're looking for people to come from North Jersey that have New York money to live here. So it's not, I would say, what you're looking for me if you're over 50, you're looking for how do you want to live? Do you want 2-story living, or do you want something that's similar to an apartment where you got, someone that comes in? Even some of these condos, they have people who come and fix things for you in your house. So it depends on what you're looking for. I think there's another question there.
Yes. Why do you have to pay HOA fees in communities?
Oh, when we feel that one. Well, that's one of the conveniences of being in a condo. I have a friend who has a 4-bedroom, 2-bath home, and he's never there. But he has to come back, he has to cut grass, he has to plow the snow. He's always traveling. So when you have these condos, what's nice about it, if that lifestyle fits you, you can come and go as you please. The grass will be cut for you. The snow will be plowed. You don't have to really worry about the roofs or anything like that. There's a pool available. They'll take care of that as well. So you can go swim. You don't have to skim the pool. There may be a clubhouse. You can use the clubhouse when you reserve the time for that. But there's a cost associated with that. There are maintenance people who work in that building whose job is to cut that grass, whose job is to plow that snow, and maintain the roof, maintain the pool. Those people need to be paid. So when you don't pay, when you're not doing those services, someone else will need to do them for you. Now, mind you, those HOA fees can be pretty hefty. You go down south, say you can go to Florida, you may have HOA fees of $100. Why? They're only cutting grass. There's no snow. There's no ice. But you can go up North Jersey, and I've seen condos in North Jersey that went for a mere $100,000, and the whole HOA fees were close to $2,000 a month. Now I'm saying $2,000 a month. What am I getting? I don't want to work out in the gym that much. I don't swim that often. But it's the close proximity to New York that made them go up so high. But you get one parking spot up there too. So it all depends. So some of these places will have some nice moderate price HOA fees, maybe $300, but that does go to pay for the services and those people who are working to maintain that. So you don't have to worry about it. When you go on vacation, you lock that door and you go away for a month and you just come back, your grass is always cut. You don't have to worry about it. Marvin?
Exactly. And also, and what I would say is when you're going to look at those types of properties, you have to look around and look at what the maintenance, what the maintenance looks like. Like, are all the yards cut? Is everything like perfect and what you would want to live in? Because that shows the sign of a good management company, and they're going to keep the value of your property. So when they're doing that with those HOA fees, when you go to sell, now when you live in neighborhoods, I don't know if any of you live in neighborhoods where, you have the family like 2 doors down the street that always has stuff on their porch, right? Always has things in they got a junky car in the driveway and all of those things. HOAs, You don't have that. They walk around, they will fine you, and their fines are just like government tax. You cannot sell your house until you pay for that. So people take that seriously, and they're gonna maintain their property, and you have someone that will talk to your neighbor so you don't have to.
And I also add, not all HOAs are properly funded by the people that live there. So you have to be careful, because some of the HOAs aren't approved by some of the lenders. So I found situations where we had a nice home. We found out only half the people were paying the HOA fees. They're not cutting the grass. And the mortgage institute, the financial institution said they wouldn't cover that home because the HOA wasn't financed properly. So you have to consider that as well.
We'll help you with that.
Yes, we will.
All right, so we want to do the poll again, because what we wanted to do is we wanted to, hopefully now we've given you a few more answers so you can kind of see if anything changes with the poll, how you feeling about that. So we want to launch the poll again. Got to close that down, Scott. You guys see the poll? No one's answering. Okay, somebody answered now. Well, good. If nothing else, everybody knows it is not a buyer's market, right? And it's
And
not a
Norma,
bad thing.
There is one more question while they're answering the poll. What
Sure.
about interest rates?
All right, so the Feds had said that they were going to continue to raise interest rates because they are trying to say they don't want to have inflation, right? So right now, what I would definitely want to say is that the interest rates that we had in the 3%, that was an anomaly. That wasn't a norm, right? That was something that we could have all taken advantage of. And if we couldn't, I know I wasn't able to, so we kind of lost out on that. We're right now in where the interest rates are. This is our normal interest rate. So we expect it to stay between 5 to 7%, and it might go up a little bit. So that's something else to think about. If you're, if you're waiting for interest rates to drop back down, that is not likely to happen. 90% sure of that. So, and I'm going to tell you this also, if house prices go down, interest rates are going up, because that's what drives that. Because when people, because then it shifts to a buyer's market. But, right now we have a little bit of a sweet spot. So you don't want to, one of the terms that I've heard a lot and I love to use is you buy the house, love the house, marry the house, and you date the rate. So what I mean by that is that, when you're dating someone, you can get rid of them at any time, right? When you marry, that's saying, this is what I love, this is what I want. So you marry that home, and rates will change. And if they fluctuate, you refinance. There are a lot of mortgage companies right now that are actually offering that, to refinance you for free within the next 12 to 24 months, because they know that that's one of the things that's holding people back from going out there, because you don't want to go now and you buy a home and then the interest rates fall, right? So that's something that you can talk to your mortgage person about. So An ideal interest rate, I would say, is going to be something that right now you're looking at anywhere between the 5 to 7% range, and it's also going to be strongly dependent on credit score. So if your friend got a 4.75%, interest on their home, trust and believe they have an 800 credit score. And it might take a lot of work for you to get there. So you buy your home and then you work to get there and then you refinance later on down the line, right? Don't let that stop you.
And to put things in perspective, my first home was 11% interest.
Now you think about that. And he bought it at $35,000, right?
And I still was saying that was a lot of money, but still.
So I don't know. Can you guys, I'm gonna pop this up. Just let me know in the chat because I can't see you if you are seeing the results. Okay, perfect. So what we wanted to do is, what everybody pays for rent. But definitely credit score good. But I know everybody, seller's market. It is a seller's market for that person. It is right now. It's a seller's market. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. It's a seller's market. So just remember that. And yes, every single one of those things is an important aspect of buying a home. But credit score definitely is one of the tops because that gets you actually in the door. So thank you for that. All right, any other questions?
There are no more in the chat.
All right, any live?
No.
All right. So the one of the things that Scott and I talked about, right? Where do you start as a new home buyer, right? Where do you start? You're going to start with Scott and I. We are looking forward to hearing from you and talking to you, right, Scott?
Yes, we are.
So reach out to, one of us and, let us know what your questions are, concerns, what your situation is. And probably we've both been in the business long enough that there's not much that we haven't had to deal with. So you might think something is a problem and we may have an easy solution for you. So please, by all means, reach out to us and we can help you. So hopefully look forward to talking to you soon. Scott, anything else you want to add?
No, just thank you all for coming out and hope to hear from you soon.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Sora, Marva, and Scott, for all of the useful information that you presented to us this evening. Participants, here's your time to let us know how you received this session and what else you may want to the chapter to present. So I did drop a link into the chat. If you can take the time while we are closing out, we will be hearing from the leadership from the Omegas and from the Deltas. Omega Psi Phi first, please.
Well, good evening, everyone. I want to say thank you all for joining the program tonight. Our presenters did an amazing job. Been listening in and receiving a lot of good information from you all. So thank you all for, again, sharing this really great information with everyone who was able to attend. And hopefully, we increase the home ownership rates of our membership and also just our community in general. Okay, that's it. Thank you again very much.
Good evening. On behalf of the members of Trenton Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority, I'd like to thank our attendees for joining us this evening for our final speaker series, Get Your House in Order from Renter to Homeowner. To our panelists, Scott Rice, Marva Morris, thank you for sharing your expertise and experience with us. Also, we'd like to thank the members of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, Delta Upsilon Chapter, for partnering with us this evening. I would like to thank Trenton Alumni Chapter's Information and Communication Committee. Thank you all for your technological support. And thank you to our Economic Development Committee the committee members, and especially the chair, Soror Nicole Carmichael, and our co-chair, Janelle Hazel. I hope that you have learned a lot this evening, and you are open and welcome to use both realtors here this evening that shared a lot of information. I'll turn it back over to our chair, Nicole Carmichael.
Thank you, sir. Madam President, thank you again. If that's it, I think we are finished. And again, go back if you have not looked at our other previous sessions, go back and look at it because it's a lot of information. And again, we wanted to end tonight or our session with get your house in order. I think now our house is in order. So just everyone have a blessed night and good evening. Good night.